Want to turn your rental property into a wealth-building machine? Maximizing your rental income isn't just about collecting rents. It's about smart strategies that can help you build long-term wealth, especially in competitive markets like Montreal. But how do you do it the right way? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take your rental property to the next level. We'll talk about everything from legal rent increases, how to calculate them, and what to do if a tenant pushes back, to strategies for improving your property's value and navigating rent control regulations. Whether you're a first-time landlord or a seasoned investor, these tips will help you maximize returns while keeping your tenants happy. I'm Aguinaga, and with years of experience in Montreal's real estate market, I've seen how smart management can transform rental properties into high-performing investments. So let's dive in and make sure you're getting the most out of your property. Let's start off by discussing why optimizing your rental property matters. I'd like to congratulate you for owning a rental property or wanting to learn about the best practices when owning one. I am all in on real estate and am looking forward to living off of the cash flow from my properties in the future. By putting in the work today, I'm ensuring that I will have a healthy nest egg that will deliver monthly recurring mailbox money. Along the way, I can choose to borrow against them for other projects, understanding that this will delay the mortgage payoff date. The way I see it, I'm currently in build mode, acquiring and optimizing as much as possible. Eventually, I'll shift into a maintenance phase and simply look to maintain the portfolio. Depending on your market, it can be imperative to have the right strategy for the investment. Some markets are cash flow heavy and weak on appreciation. Others are the inverse, and some might be a healthy balance of both. Understanding your market is imperative to succeeding. Let's look at how to increase revenue from your rental property. The best way to increase your valuation is by increasing the rental revenue, and the best way to do this is by renovating and improving the property. Tenants are always willing to pay more for a nicer property or a property that offers more bedrooms depending on the neighborhood. Some of the best renovations from a return on investment perspective are fresh paint, a new kitchen, and a new bathroom. You'd be surprised how important these things are for tenants. In Quebec, once a year, we can also increase rents as a function of the money that we invest in the property and the increase in operational costs. Therefore, the more you invest in the property, the more you can raise. It's important to note that it requires a large investment to see an impact on the increased percentage you'll be allowed. How do you calculate a rent increase? The only legal way in Quebec to calculate a rental increase is by using the rental board's rent increase calculator. There is no other way to come up with this number that cannot be contested at the rental board. It isn't a fixed percentage every year. It changes annually based on inflation and the increase in operational costs. Now, what happens if a tenant refuses the increase? Well, this happens quite commonly in Quebec, and if a tenant refuses the increase, you have 30 days to apply for a rental fixation. This means to set the rent for the following term. Before going down that road, it's always recommended to try to negotiate with your tenant, and I like to submit a copy of the calculation to the tenants so that they can see that we kept the calculation above board. In the event that they do not agree, you'll have to submit the rental board's calculation to the judge, and they will set the rent based on this calculation. There are important deadlines throughout this process that you have to be very diligent with. You don't want to lose out on an increase simply because you missed a deadline. What are the exemptions from rent increase regulations? Well, in Quebec, there are only 2 exceptions to the traditional rental increase calculation. This includes properties that are newly built in the last 5 years or properties that changed their destination in the last 5 years from residential to commercial or vice versa. In these scenarios, you have a 5-year grace period where you can increase rents annually without a strict calculation. The idea behind this is that we don't necessarily know the correct rental value in the first few years, and thus we have a grace period to establish the appropriate rent. What is the timing of rent increases? Well, like everything else in Quebec, there are very strict deadlines for all renewals and increases. It's imperative to be aware of them and respect them. The board will likely refuse your request if you're 1 day late. So, for leases of 12 months or more, the period to submit increases is 3 to 6 months prior to the end of the lease. Shorter leases have a different time delays. Again, missing a renewal opportunity will lead directly to less cash flow and a lower valuation of the property. I can't stress enough how important it is to increase rents annually. Now let's talk about vacancies and rental increases. There is one other way to reset the rental value with the rental board. If a property has been vacant for 12 months or more, there is no more rent control for that unit. Some investors will use this strategy to reset the rents in a building when they're too low. They take the year to make improvements to the property and then rent it out after the delay in order to increase the property value. What is the impact of rent increases on property value and resale? This year, my property management company, Plex Doctor, was hired to manage a 24-unit building in NDG. In about 6 months, we've turned over 6 units, and with the rental increases that we've established, we added over $1 million of value to that property. Obviously, the more units you have, the greater the impact, but in general, every $100 increase per month will increase the value of your property by about $25,000. This is a huge impact and it should not be underestimated. A property with solid revenues also has more financing options. This will open up the pool of buyers and ultimately lead to a higher sale price. Are there rent control exemptions for luxury units? No. All residential properties on long-term leases, this is 30 days or more, are subject to rent control. If you're lucky enough to qualify for a CITQ permit, then your best bet might be to do short-term rentals in order to maximize your returns. How do you retain tenants while increasing the rents? I always tell our clients that there is a balance between increasing rents and not having high turnover. Once you're at the upper end of rental value, you want to increase the minimum to keep your tenants at the property. Turnover is always more expensive than keeping a good, happy tenant. Turnover could incur broker fees, fresh paint costs, repairs and maintenance costs, etc. While I still believe in increasing rents every year, the amount might be small just to keep the habit going forward. In the event that you're not at the upper limit of the rental values, then I always recommend going for the maximum rental increase allowed to increase the property value and cash flow as discussed. Now let's look at a long-term strategy to build equity through smart rental management. I touched on this briefly a bit earlier. Working with a solid manager could make a huge difference in your bottom line. This refers to annual cash flow and property value. Some people don't realize how much it's costing them to not hire a professional management company. A good management company will help you determine the right increases, which tenants to negotiate with, and where to invest in improvements. They truly are your investment partners. Maximizing your rental property income doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require strategy. Whether it's smart rent increases, renovations, or just timing things right, these tips can help you boost your returns while keeping your tenants happy. If this video helped you, make sure to hit the like button and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're managing your rental properties or any challenges you're facing. And if you're having more specific questions or need personalized advice, feel free to book a call with me. The link is in the description down below. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on more real estate tips. There's a lot more to cover when it comes to building long-term wealth through rentals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.